What is the visual or artistic style of the Ninja mod going to be like? What the question alone suggests may be a little deceiving to most of the general populace, and even to many artists. Simply because I'm addressing the question, many of you might be suspecting that I'm trying to turn this game into some sort of cartoon. Well, that's not my intent at all. Even though I'm not trying to make this into a cartoon, I think it's still very critical to define a specific type of artistic style. To help you understand why, let's just take a trip back in time a minute. Let's go back to the 4th generation of video games. Now, in this era, it was more than obvious that developers were not creating photorealistic games. Artistic style was critically important around this era, aided in part by the fact that they had to choose each individual color they used. Every game had its own unique visual style. In my opinion, this led to a great advantage for these games. The more lighthearted the game was, the more colorful it appeared. The more serious the game was, the more serious it appeared. And to be fair, that fact is still quite true today. But what we have failed to see since the start of this console generation is an effective range of these styles, instead of a jump from the greatest extreme to the other. I mean, now look, even if all of these 4th generation games still had a cartoonish look to them, they still got to decide exactly how cartoonish they got. We have very animated, mostly animated, mildly animated, all the way down the spectrum until you get to the people who are making an honest effort to appear as close to photorealistic as their hardware would allow. But we don't see that today. All we really see today are people trying to go for that same exact visual style. Now, many of you might wonder, what's the point? So what? Why not just make that photorealistic game today? Or why not push for that style? Well, first of all, quite frankly, you still can't make a photorealistic game today. Yes, we've come very far, and we've done very good jobs and come very close, but all of these games still don't look photorealistic. They look like high-end computer animations. They look like things coming out of a Hollywood movie studio, but they don't look real. They look computer animated. Let me make it more apparent for you. Here's a clip from a modern high-end game.
This mission isn't an order from Washington. Not like the old days. Snake. You're the only man I can trust.
And this is a clip from my Sega Genesis.
But there's one more thing, Grimsby. This mission will leave no trace. We understand each other? Yeah.
Even though it's spotty and compressed, I don't question that there's actually a person there. And because of that, it looks way more realistic than this modern-day computer animation. Don't try to compare it to which one looks cleaner, but think about which one looks more real. That one is a real person, that one is not.
I don't like the looks of this.
So even though we have the most powerful systems that we have ever seen before, we have nothing but developers all trying to match that photorealistic style, so that they can give the players the most realistic experience possible in a world where you die instantly from being shot 4 times in the leg, and simple and common field dressings will miraculously and instantly heal your bullet wounds.
That's what I'm talking about. Good as new.
Or even better, that all these bullet wounds will heal themselves in just 3 seconds. And all the rockets in the world will never do anything more than scorch a plywood wall. Come on, people, you're not achieving realism. Why are you so fixated on trying to get it to look real when it's never going to play real? These games are not real life. They do not act like real life, they do not look like real life, and in all honesty, why would you want them to? Now it seems to me that the visual style of the game should match the realism that the rest of the game conveys. And with the immense power that our systems have today, we should be having a huge range of artistic styles. But instead, all we see are attempts at photorealism and attempts at cartoon duplication. Whatever happened to the middle ground? As our systems are becoming more and more powerful, our games should be becoming better and better. So why is it that people are just making the most uninspired crap of all time? In all honesty, why should we make yet another game that looks just like all the others? I mean, seriously, have you looked at the selection lately? It's like 30% of the world's black ink is being used on video game covers. And they're not just dark, they're usually dark with one shade of color to show the contours. And, you know, that wouldn't be half as bad if this wasn't what the game actually looked like when it's being played. I think people are getting a little too attached to their post-processing filters, using them a bit too much to try to cover up the fact that the games don't look quite realistic. And please let me be clear about something I'm saying here. I'm not saying that it's bad to make something look photorealistic. I'm not saying anything bad about any of the games I've referenced or shown here. I'm not even saying that these games look bad. Except maybe bad A. But the problem is that nearly every game is doing the same exact thing. Where's the originality? I mean, many of these games are well done and they look great, but it gets to the point where you can't distinguish one game from another. I'm not saying that we can't have these games that we do have, but I'm just saying we need more games to really stand out and be themselves. I'm not making the same game that everyone else is making, and that is going to include how it looks. Alright then, so what is this game supposed to look like? Well, to be frankly honest, I do want it to be structured with a highly naturalistic style. That means that everything would have photorealistic proportions. But on top of that, everything should have a drawn or painted look to it, so that altogether the game should look like a realistically styled illustration. Now I've been looking at a lot of different samples so I could try to find something that does a good job of matching what I'm talking about. I've been trying to find a really good sample I could use so I could just point to something and say that, it should look like that. And I think I found something I can use. I'm going to point at a lot of the character art used in the Soul Calibur games. Here we have characters that are about as realistic as pen and paper can make them. They're shaped to proper and realistic human proportions. Well, at least the men are. Well, you know what I'm trying to say, at least. And they also show a lot of detail in their coloring. The skin and the other surfaces have a realistic texture to it instead of just being solid colors. We don't have outlines, and all the ink doesn't really blob into each other except on a very fine level. It has a serious tone to it, but yet it still has enough highlights and sheen to appear inviting. It doesn't appear real gritty, but we can still see grit where it should appear. And of course, keep in mind that this isn't just about how the characters are going to look, but the entire world. So altogether it should look illustrated, but not absurdly so. With the naturalistic design, the world makes a connection to us. We can identify with the characters and identify them as real people with real emotions going through real struggles. But yet at the same time, we see that it is not real, nor is it trying to hide that fact. We can make a connection with these characters as figures of reality, and yet that connection is not broken when we see unrealistic feats. That is the visual effect that this title needs to achieve.